The new Fitbit Versa 4 and Sense 2 are starting to show up at retailers and in mailboxes for those who ordered them early, and I've had this one on my wrist for a full day at this point. These new Fitbits share nearly all things in common aside from a few different sensors added to the Sense versus the Versa 4, and as a guy who's owned each Fitbit Versa along the way, there are some things right away I think you should know about Fitbits and Google's latest smartwatches. First up, the design and build quality on this new Versa 4 is really fantastic. The last few Versas haven't felt cheap to me at all, but this one takes it to like this new level. The shape of the watch itself is a little bit more attractive, and the thickness is noticeably reduced as well. The screen still looks great, it gets plenty bright, and retains all the qualities you would need in a watch that's going to be both indoors and outdoors with you on a regular basis. The included watch band is also really comfy, making me a whole lot less prone to replace it right away. And on the wrist, the whole thing just looks really sleek and modern, and it has an attractive all-around appearance. Again, I've not disliked the way my previous Versas looked on my wrist, I just like this one a whole lot more. They also brought back the physical side button, and this was the right move. I like the idea of the haptic button on the Versa 3, but it required too much force and too much of a squeeze action to actually make it work. The return of the button feels far more natural, and I'm glad to see it here on the Versa 4. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to get subscribed for more content like this, and while you're at it, a thumbs up would be awesome as well. Also, ringing that little notification bell will make sure that you don't miss any of our content moving forward. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, the new UI isn't a surprise as it's been discussed online quite a bit, but I really do like it a lot. Google's further invested in Fitbit at this point, and the new layout of the interface makes that pretty evident. It's a bit more like Wear OS, and you now have tiles to each side of the main watch face, notifications when you swipe up, and quick settings when you swipe down. The side button brings up your app drawer, and it works as this like go back button when you're in any of the apps or the settings or tiles at any point in the interface. It all works pretty well together, and this UI layout makes more sense than previous Fitbit attempts, even if only a little bit. After all, it's a fitness tracker first, so playing around on your watch for long periods of time isn't really something you're going to be doing with this device. Fitbit's version of the smartwatch experience depends largely on like quick glanceable info, and the UI delivers that seamlessly with smoother animations and better touch response than I've seen on a Versa before this one. I think the animations and smoothness could still use a little bit of a cleanup to get on the level of, say, a Samsung Galaxy Watch or the Apple Watch, but it's far more responsive than previous Versa watches for sure. I also really enjoy the simple setup process. Fitbit has honed this over the years, and I didn't have to retry anything or attempt the connection between my Versa 4 and my Pixel 6 Pro over and over again before getting it up and running. Everything just worked the first time. It walked me through the process really easily, and I was up and running with the latest firmware on my watch in about 10 minutes or so. With this being a tech accessory, that's the sort of setup I'm here for. Finally, in the list of things I like so far about this watch, the promise of Google Maps and Google Wallet have me pretty excited. I already know that my bank card works with Google Wallet just fine, and having Google Maps on my wrist while I'm driving is one of those handful of things I really do want in a smartwatch. I know we usually say never buy tech today based on a promise for tomorrow, but Fitbit and Google have not only stated that these integrations are coming, they're prominently displayed on the Versa 4's landing page too. So I'm not sure why they're waiting, but these features definitely feel like a sure thing that's coming. Now, we need to talk about some things I don't like at all about this watch. And first up is the music experience, namely the fact that there isn't one. With no Wi-Fi or any real access to local storage by apps, there's no way to download and listen to music directly from this watch at this point. And there's no indication that it's on the way either. In some ways, I like the removal of Wi-Fi on the Versa 4. It's here apparently under the hood, it's just not enabled. The older Versas all had Wi-Fi, and it was never really clear when they would and wouldn't use it to connect to things like messages or other weather info. With Bluetooth as the main connection now between your phone and watch, much of that extra confusion is gone, and I've noticed a more solid connection and less missed notifications on the Versa 4 versus the previous Versa 3. However, these changes also mean I can't use services like Deezer or Pandora to store music locally on the watch like I could with previous Versa watches. This feature removal is questionable enough on its own, but when you add to it the fact that Fitbit also removed the local music playback controls, I'm a little shocked at the inept music experience on this watch. With previous Versas, I could use my watch to control media playback on my phone, and that was something I did utilize pretty often. It was really handy to be in a cast session at the office or at home and be able to just use my watch to pause the audio if I needed to. With this ability absent on the Fitbit Versa 4 at this point, this new watch has zero ability to do anything with any music whatsoever, and that's kind of a big letdown. In the same vein, it looks like there aren't any third-party apps available either. Searching the Fitbit gallery in the app, outside of the Fitbit apps installed out of the box, I can find no other apps at all. I didn't use many on my Versa 3, but like the Starbucks app and my simple golf GPS app were handy, but now I can't install them. This could, and most definitely should, change down the road, but for now, app support is basically nil. And those app limitations extend to the tiles as well. There are a handful installed, but there are no extras you get to choose from. Look, tiles are like quick access widgets, but with no apps on here outside of the Fitbit made ones you get out of the box, I guess there's nothing else to provide quick access to. Again, I hope that changes, as this UI would really be great for this sort of like glanceable, fast access bit of info just a swipe away. Imagine a tile for things like your calendar or, a music app. That would be great. As it stands right now, a lot needs to change before that's going to happen, and that's just a shame. And on the subject of missing stuff, where is the Google Assistant? On a watch that has By Google right on the front, there's not even a hint of the Google Assistant anywhere. What? On top of that, Amazon's Alexa is still on board and works just fine. On a watch. By Google. This is such an absolute fail that I don't even think I need to say anything else about it. I mean, seriously? Also absent is the ability to quickly switch stored watch faces with just a long press on the main clock. It's simple enough, right? Why would they remove this option? As a matter of fact, there's no option at all to change watch faces from the watch itself, and you're forced to do it in the Fitbit app every time you want a new one. And folks, this is after just one day of use. I'm certain there are some other missing functionalities that I've not stumbled on quite yet, but I can tell you for sure that if these things don't change and change quickly, a return of this device is in order for me. Yeah, I like the build and I like the look and I like the UI changes, but these limitations are not only aggravating, they make no sense whatsoever. It's early, sure, but if Google and Fitbit don't fix this in a hurry, this is probably going to be the first time in a very long time I don't have the latest Versa on my wrist.